Welcome back to the Majlis of Wisdom by Beyond the Verses. I am your host, Alia Muhammad. In episode 3, The Legacy, we journey into civilizations that understood knowledge not as a separate disciplines, but as an interconnected way of understanding life. We begin in ancient Egypt, long before the modern division between science, medicine, architecture, astronomy, and philosophy. Egyptian civilization developed systems of knowledge through close observation of nature, the human body, the environment, and the cosmos. What can we learn from the way they observed, designed, and built? And what happens when we begin to look at their legacy not simply as a monuments of past, but as a multidisciplinary body of knowledge that can inspire questions for the future and can reshape our innovation systems today? In the first part, we explore these questions through 3 complementary perspectives: archaeology, medicine, and relationship between humanity, nature, and the creation. We begin with Professor Armando Mei, whose work explores ancient civilization through multidisciplinary archaeological investigation, followed by Professor Waseem Elseesy, who can take us into the world of ancient Egyptian medicine. And then we will shift into Arabic segment for a different but a deeply connected perspective with Dr. Nashwa Shargawi, exploring ancient Egyptian heritage, restoration, music, and the relationship between human beings, nature, and the universe itself. This is not simply a journey into the past, it's an invitation to ask what the past may still have to teach the future. Welcome to The Legacy, Ancient Egypt, the architect of civilization.
Good evening, Alia. I thank you so much for inviting me at this episode. I am truly delighted to share with you this experience, and a very heartfelt welcome to Professor Elseesy Waseem. It's a real good friend.
Yes.
And yes, I am a researcher in archaeology and with expertise in ancient Egyptian civilization. And actually, I am from Italy, but I moved to Egypt to work on field, to study the archaeological sites straight on field. And I'm particularly study the ancient archaeological sites, applying non-invasive technology, because following also interdisciplinary patterns of investigation. Because I believe that interdisciplinary could help us to know better and a lot about the knowledge of the ancient civilizations. And so this is the core of my activity.
That's amazing. I think, one of the closest topic to my heart is about ancient civilization and how we learn from that great invention, great knowledge, and advanced technology used to be in that era. So thank you for your contribution into the field.
Thank you.
And we look forward to explore that depth with you, inshallah.
Okay.
And now we go to our special guest, Dr. Waseem.
Yes, Dr. Alia. Okay. I introduce myself saying that I am Professor Waseem Elseesy. I'm specialized in kidney surgery and urology and neurology as well.
MashaAllah.
I had FRCS England and FRCS Glasgow as well. The first one in urology and second one in general surgery. I am still till tomorrow and even years and years coming practicing my medicine, which I love very much. As a matter of fact, yesterday was a very big, serious operation I did, and I was so happy, and I celebrated at home because of the success of this operation.
MashaAllah.
I love medicine. I love my patients.
Mhm.
Interested in my profession. I have a hospital, private hospital, and 2 clinics. But the story, how I fell in love with Egyptology, this started from when I was in England for the fellowship. I was accustomed to write an article in the Daily Mail, and every 2 weeks, and to find the new subjects. So I was accustomed every Sunday to go the uh, Hyde Park, because I know that I can hear very interesting and very absurd subjects there.
Mhm.
And I remember an Englishman was on a stand, high stand, and he was saying, "We are the light of this world." The first parliament, 400 years ago, Oliver Cromwell, he was British, and the man who discovered sterilization was Lister, he was British, and the man who discovered anesthesia, Simpson, he was British. The man who discovered the penicillin, Alexander Fleming, he was British, and then an African man was among the audience, and he said, "Mr. Speaker," he said, "Yes." He said, "Please stop boasting because I gave you civilization." And the Englishman said, "How?" He said, "Yes, you Anglo-Saxons had your civilization from Rome, Rome from Greece, Greece from ancient Egypt." He
Mhm.
said, "How from ancient Egypt?" He said, "Plato came and studied philosophy for 13 years in Alexandria
Mhm.
by the Egyptian philosophers.
Mm.
Also, uh, also Solon, he studied the law in Egypt.
Mm.
Pythagoras as well, 22 years in Egypt."
Mhm.
And then the Englishman asked him, "Are you Egyptian?" He said, "No, I am from Nigeria, Nigeria in Africa, and
Mm.
Egypt in Africa. Africa told the whole world, including you." The strange thing is that the Englishman applauded him highly, and the audience was about 70 person applauded him highly. I was over clouds walking, but I was ashamed of myself. Why? I don't know what this gentleman is
Mm.
knowing. So it started from here.
Yes. Yes, because it's such an honor to come from ancestors that have that depth and knowledge and advancement. And I believe everyone in Egypt, even in the Arabic world, in Africa, and they need to know about that knowledge, about that civilization and the greatness they create, and how we can learn from that. So I think yes, that was it's an amazing story how that started, because even for me as well, I was hearing people talking about ancient Egyptian, and they're talking about that great civilization, and was my knowledge was very limited at that time, and it intrigues me because I was doing a research across different branches of science, but I couldn't find the full answer that I'm looking for to understand the universe, to understand the reality of existence. But once I start to explore ancient Egyptian and other ancient civilization, it gave me, the full picture, uh, where when I merged it with the modern science, I just found that so amazing and fascinating how they were discovering all this, like 11,000 years BC, or maybe 35,000 BC. Still, researchers are trying to identify the start, the starting of that civilization. So I think, yeah, that's incredible and amazing. So so let's explore it today. And let's bring that understanding for the audience to see beyond the mythology, beyond even the philosophy, how that civilization, it was very anchored in deep science, deep knowledge for the universe, and how they were integrated the knowledge system. There is no separation between the logical part of the brain or the creative part of the brain, because they understand that the two faculties, I mean, the two hemispheres has to come into, into oneness, and also like connected with the nature, connected with the universe. So we're going to explore that with you. Let's start from Professor Armando. Can we cover, Professor Armando, what the fundamental principles allow ancient civilization to integrate science, architecture, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy into a coherent system of knowledge?
Yes. Well, I believe that the fundamental principle was that the ancient civilization did not see knowledge as a collection of separate disciplines. Because, in my opinion, they understood the world as an interconnected reality, where nature, humanity, science, environment were all part of the same system. Differently today, we organize knowledge into specialized fields. And this has produced extraordinary scientific achievements, of course, but it has also created boundaries between disciplines. And sometimes we become so focused on individual areas of expertise but we lose sight of the broader picture. But when we look at the ancient civilization, particularly the Egyptian civilization, we often encounter a different way of thinking, and it's very clear when you are on the field. And the people who planned and built the monument structures, for example, were not simply architects or engineers. They were also careful observers of nature. And it means that knowledge was integrated rather than fragmented.
Yes.
And as a researcher working in Egypt, this is one of the aspects that fascinated me most. And we can understand that when you study monuments such as the pyramids, because no single discipline is enough to explain the real purpose of the monuments. So archaeology, geology, astronomy, engineering all contribute to our understanding. Perhaps, in my opinion, the greatest achievements of ancient civilization was not only what they built, but their ability to connect different forms of knowledge into a coherent vision of reality. This is very important, in my opinion. And this is why I believe this may be one of their most valuable lessons for us today.
Exactly. And from this point of view, I want to address with Professor Elseesy regarding the approach they were having for medicine. For example, they were having advanced knowledge about medicine, about surgery, operations. I was so fascinated when I was visiting with the Dr. Nashwa Shargawi into the Komombo temple, and I found that they've been documented in the wall, all the surgery equipment, advanced level. For me, like, it was like so fascinating. And the way they are not seeing the medicine only from the physical part, but also they're integrating the emotional, the mental, the spiritual part, because they see the body as a whole, not as just separate organs. So I want to deep dive with you about that knowledge system in medicine, in surgery, that was in the ancient Egyptian.
The word civilization comes from the word civility. And the word civility is a dictionary word which means politeness, good manners, and treatment to others. So civilization is the foundation of any progress of any branch of life, whether it is medical or social or geological, archaeological, anything. Ancient Egypt succeeded in putting the foundation of civilization. So much so that I remember an archaeologist called Professor Gross in the United States. There was a conference there, and one discussion, she said, Dr. Sisi, in spite of the hardships which are in Egypt, yet I assure you that civilization is under Egyptian skin. And when I asked her, what do you mean by civilization? She told me what I told you now. And then I assured her, saying that yes, ancient Egyptians were so polite and kind, not only to others as humans, but even to animals, even to plants.
Yes.
And in the negative confession, every Egyptian was prepared that he's going to be asked, did you torture an animal? No, I did not. Were you the cause of tears of any human being? No, I was not the cause of any tears for any human being. Did you torture a plant by forgetting to water this plant? The comment of Dr. Gross, she said, look, respecting life in all its forms, plant, animal, human. This is Egypt. This is Egyptian civilization. And that's why every branch progressed. Astronomy, for example, medicine, for example, plant, for example, every aspect of life, because the foundation, which is civilization and its fruits, and the most important is peace. We didn't hear at all in ancient Egypt that there was a religious fight at all. So it was a peaceful society. So this gave them the chance to think and create and innovate. And that's why, especially from the medical aspect, even, in Odessa and Eliasa, Homiros mentioned that ancient Egyptian doctors were renowned for their skillfulness in all aspects of medical branches, especially in ophthalmology, eye diseases. And to confirm this, and as a proof of this, Koresh, the king of Persia, it was 550 BC, when he was suffering of what is whiteness of the lens, cataract. The doctors went to him and they did him a cataract operation. This is Koresh, for example. And they were so clever in the brain surgery as well. Recently, I received a video coming from England and how the skull quarters, I mean by lines. And one of these lines underneath the tumor was there. They took disc of bone and they removed the tumor, and in the papyrus they put honey, and the honey kills bacteria by its hygroscopic power.
Yes.
Especially in gynecology and obstetrics, especially in dentistry, for example.
we would love, to deep dive with you more into those different branches of medicine and how it's been documented in the papyrus, and how they preserve the knowledge, and allow the knowledge to be transferred from generation to generation, and even the material of the papyrus, the paper, how it lasts for those thousands years. It's so amazing. That's advanced alchemy, advanced. I mean, the way they create everything, the understanding of nature properties, and how everything is working and co-creating with nature harmony. So that's, for me, is very fascinating to deep dive into that. So, Professor Armando, getting back to the same topic, as you already explained how knowledge was integrated in that era of ancient civilization. What have we lost by separating knowledge into specialized discipline, and what can ancient civilization teach us about restoring a more integrated approach?
Yes. First of all, I believe that specialization of knowledge has brought enormous benefit to modern societies, of course. Modern science has achieved extraordinary results because experts can focus deeply on a specific question and develop, of course, increasingly precise methods of investigation. Much of the progress we enjoy today would not have been possible, for example, without this specialization. At the same time, there is a potential drawback, in my opinion, because when we focus too closely on individual parts, we can sometimes lose sight of a larger system. So we gain precision, but we may lose perspective.
Yes.
No? And one of the defining challenges of our time, in my opinion, is that many of the problems we face are interconnected. They are linked through complex relationships that often cannot be fully understood through a single discipline alone. And ancient civilization offer an interesting lesson in this regard. They did not necessarily possess the scientific tools we have today, but they often approach knowledge as an integrated world. And so their understanding of the world was based on relationship, on connection, observation of systems. And this is something I encounter regularly when I am on the field in Egypt. Because to understand a monument, a landscape, or an archaeological context, archaeology alone is not enough. We need interdisciplinary and non-invasive technologies because each discipline provides a different perspective. Okay? And only when these perspectives are combined, we begin to see the full picture. For me, the lesson from ancient civilization is that specialized knowledge becomes far more powerful when it is connected to other forms of knowledge.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and that will take me to Professor Elseesy, that to deep dive with you more into that integrated system for medicine and how they documented everything into the papyrus, and how they were, treating the physical, emotional, and mental, body in the same level. Because they see integration, they don't see physical as separate than the other one. And I believe they are the first one who mentioned the heart, who mentioned the brain, and they talk about the heart at the center of intellect. So can we deep dive with you into the medicine practice at that era?
Look, I'd like to tell you that, Professor Sandra, my daughter, and she's very happy, by the way, that because of your phone call to her. And That's Dr. Sandra.
Yes.
And he told me that one of the best managements and treatments in my branch, which is psychiatry, is ECT. ECT is electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
I told her that ancient Egypt was treating by electric shock therapy. She was amazed at not believing how. Then I told her that eelfish, the adult one, can kill a muscular man. But ancient Egyptians were accustomed to catch the small one and put it on the side of the head for migraine. Migraine, as you know, a severe headache on half of the skull of the head, and in depression. So ancient Egyptians knew the psychological background even of persons, and they knew the one of the lines of treatment we are using till now, which is ECT, electroshock, ECT, electrotherapy, shock therapy.
Yes.
Anyway, so also strangely enough, that many of the different branches of medicine were integrated. For example, if you read Edwin Smith's papyrus, he mentioned a case that somebody fell and had a fracture in his neck. And they describe the clinical picture the same as we describing it nowadays. Quadriplegia, which means paralysis in upper limbs and the lower limbs. Breathing is difficult and so on. And he died. The person died. But the strange thing, they did post-mortem examination, which we are suffering to do it now because of the people usually refuse it. And they say, if you cut in the back of the neck, you'll find that the upper vertebra is immersed in the lower vertebra, the same as your foot is immersed in the clay. Of course, he is affected by the environment around him. So it describes that the fracture of the neck and the destruction of the upper vertebra and how it is in the lower one, the same as the foot when it is immersed in clay. This is wonderful. They wanted to know what is behind, what happened, and they described it. So you see a clinical picture, trial of treatment, and mortality, and the cause of death. Strange. And I remember as well, Professor Fayyad, he was my professor in obstetrics and gynecology. He wrote in his book, Woman in Ancient Egypt, he said that he was invited to Singapore Convention, and he was lecturing about gynecology and obstetrics in ancient Egypt. And he mentioned many things, but the strangest thing he mentioned, that sterile woman, after 1 or 2 years of marriage and she is not pregnant, the ancient Egyptians, they were accustomed to use sort of oil which is present in garlic called allicin oil. And they put it in a piece of cloth and they insert it in the vagina. And after 8 hours or 10 hours, the doctor comes and smell the breathing of the sterile woman. If he finds the smell of garlic, he declares that she is going to be pregnant. This means that he knew that the fallopian tubes are patent and that the allicin oil passed through the tubes to the peritoneal cavity absorbed by the circulation to be excreted by breathing, by the lungs. So if there is a smell of garlic, this means that she will be pregnant, that because the tubes are patent. Professor Fayyad said that the chairman commented saying that this clearly indicates that ancient Egyptians had thorough understanding of the minute details of the human body. And the comment of Professor Fayyad, after the comment of the chairman, yes, you are right. And they had this this knowledge of the minute details of human body because of embalming. Embalming is the section of the body after death to preserve the body. So this allowed them to examine every part of the body and they knew the organs and the minute details as the chairman mentioned there. So they were really standing on scientific foundation, whether in astronomy, whether in medicine, whether in politics, whether in everything. It was a scientific foundation on which, yes, as Professor Armando mentioned in his last book, that the pyramids were built since the 36,000 years and 400. So probably even before that, the medicine was integrated with mythology. But when, mythology fails to cure the patient, so medicine started to have its role and to find the causes and to find the lines of treatment. Okay.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That is showing me that they were having even more depth in approaching medicine, not only as curing, but also as a full integrated system, like more into prevention or sustainable health through the architecture, through the environment, through the, as you said, understanding of the animal kingdom for the plant kingdom, and integrating all that into the design. Even they call this architecture, plant architecture, because it's extend even the plant kingdom into the wall. So they understand that depth of symbolic, and using the shape engraved in the wall to allow, certain functions and certain, to manifest the energy and the functionality of that shape. So I believe, Professor Armando, can you tell us more when you are doing this field analysis, observation for the temples, for the monument, all of that, what that is telling you in terms of the depth of that integration, in depth of that knowledge, and how we really can mimic and co-create the same concept now, because you see now our modern architecture, our modern health system, our modern, we don't have even understanding the same that they have for the astronomy, how they choose certain location, power spots, they understand the power spots, how they were able to measure that, how they were able to find the anomalies into the surface of the earth, and to do this topography analysis. This is very advanced for me. Knowledge in geology, knowledge in everything. So can you tell us from your observation, the field observation?
Yes, of course, because I think that this is a very important question that pushed me to study the ancient civilization from a different point of view, integrating different patterns of analysis. That is why I believe that interdisciplinary collaboration is absolutely essential. Because I experience this concept every day on the field. That is why it's important. And in fact, without it, the understanding of the ancient monuments will always remain incomplete. Why the pyramids were built in this way? Why the temples have this kind of features? No, so monuments, ancient temples, and major heritage sites are not simply buildings. We must focus that concept. They are not simply buildings. They are the results of human knowledge, environment adaptation, technical skills, and so on. Because of this complexity, that is why no single discipline can provide all the answers. I've learned that every discipline contributes an important piece of the puzzle. For example, studying the archaeological site of Giza, the geological observation sometimes can change the interpretation of an archaeological features, or the architectural detail can raise new historical questions. Modern technology that we applied in the last 3 years using satellite from the sky can reveal relationships that are not immediately visible from the ground level. That is why the challenge is not simply to collect information, but connect different layers of evidence into a coherent understanding. Before, Professor Waseem said that the pyramids maybe were built in a very ancient time, and medicine already was part of that knowledge. And it is correct, because the great monuments of the ancient world were created through the convergence of many forms of knowledge. And in that sense, multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary work is not simply useful, but in my opinion, it is necessary. And I hope that this concept could be understood by all colleagues that still refuse to apply interdisciplinary models of investigations applied to the study of the archaeological sites. In my opinion, this is a limitation to the understanding of the knowledge of the civilization that lived before us. That is why I hope and I pray from this point of view that finally we can approach the study from using models, interdisciplinary model of analysis, because this is the only way to understand what really happens in our distant past.
Exactly, because nature, as you mentioned, is very interconnected system. Not work in separation. The 5 elements work together, not in a competition, but in a collaborative system. And if we want really to understand that greatness of this civilization, neither to approach the modern challenges and global challenges, this is a whole system. We cannot approach the whole from the part, because then we are bringing very limited perspective to an interpretation to understand that, and this will never give us the full picture. That's why there is a lot of question marks in many things, that we don't even understand how they build the pyramids, how these pyramids being built, like as you said, like 36,000 years and still existing now. Why our modern architecture, like in 10 or 15 years, you find crackers here, collapsing here. So I mean, there is more depth and, as you said, an interdisciplinary perspective to give us understanding, because they were not only operating in one field or one knowledge, they are navigating between all those knowledge systems.
Yes. In fact, you if I can add some just few words, when you first refers to the archaeoastronomy, for example, when Robert Bauval published his Orion correlation theory in 1993, he suggests a possible correlation between the pyramids and the birth of Orion in 10,500 before Christ. The first step to do was not to reject his theory, but to try to understand if his theory was correct, applying interdisciplinary model of analysis at Giza, studying the geology of the temples, of the pyramids, and so on. It was the first step to do, but the mainstream, or the scholars, the academics, how do we want to call them, decide to refuse to reject this theory that, in my opinion, open a new way of understanding of our distant past.
And that will take me to Dr. Waseem. I mean, you mentioned that ancient Egyptian, they were using very pragmatic scientific method to approach medicine, examination, diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment. That's so amazing. Yani, what you mentioned is even so fascinating to see how advanced they were. And we mentioned also they understand that for you to have a sustainable health system that has to be integrating all aspects of the ecosystem, the environment, the architecture, even the spiritual practice that they were doing, because they don't see separation between the physical body, the spiritual body, and emotional body as well. So what else from while you are exploring that depths of science and knowledge in medicine amazed you and show you that the advanced knowledge they used to have, and you can shed the light for us on this piece.
Yes, I agree with you that they were very concerned with the spiritual and psychological status of people. And this is why one of their pieces of advice: don't sleep, and there is hatred in your heart to anyone.
Mm.
And when you stop hating him, this means that you are loving yourself. So you are saving yourself by loving the other one.
Mhm.
So this is sort of psychological treatment,
Mm.
you know. And for example, concerning alcohol, they say don't drink so much of alcohol, otherwise you will be broken, and there will no be bread at your home, and God will forget you, and so on, so on. So they were aware of the mental and psychological states.
Mm.
But what amazes me concerning the woods in Edward Smith's papyrus, they say you can stitch the wound into muscle,
Mm.
not the skin, then it is by catgut. Because they were accustomed, they are the first people who did surgical suture material from the intestine of the cats after they died.
Mm.
They were accustomed to do cat, even from its name, cat gut. Cat gut.
Mhm.
Of course, after that, we were doing this kind of suture material from cow gut. Even cow gut, we stopped it when we realized that their cows may be affected by madness and things like that. Anyway, they were accustomed after the death of the cat. They take the intestine and manage it chemically and make it suture material, and they can make string of a violin and a harp from even the cat intestine as well. Anyway, but the skin you can suture it by linen.
Yes. Yes.
But the strange thing, they say that this is in the first 6 hours. But after 6 hours, you don't stitch the wound. Why and how? Because it is infected. But you can use one of three things.
Mhm.
Honey, it kills bacteria by its hygroscopic power.
Mhm.
Natron salt, also it kills bacteria by its hygroscopic power. It absorbs water from the bacteria and it dies.
Mhm.
All the strangest thing, the pulp of barley when it is petrified.
Mhm.
Professor Paul Galyongi and Ahmad Ammar. Professor Galyongi is professor of endocrinology in Shams University.
Mhm.
And Ahmad Ammar is professor of obstetrics and gynecology.
Mm.
They did research work why they put the rotten or petrified barley in the pulp of barley in the infected wound. They discovered that it is penicillium notatum.
Yes.
And They discovered penicillin before Alexander Fleming by thousands of years. Yeah, this is strange, really. These people amazes me.
Advanced pharmacology.
And every day I discover things like that.
Yes.
But the most important is they realize that preventive medicine is important than clinical or treatment medicine, also, curative medicine, so to speak. Because, and Herodotus himself mentioned that I am really amazed of the Egyptians. Why? They eat outside, we call it picnic now, and the toilets inside home. At those days, the whole world was accustomed to eat inside the house and go outside for urination or things like that. Ancient Egypt had this sewage system, and every house was supplied by a 400 meters tube of copper, and its diameter is 50 centimeter. Means half a meter, extending from home to 400 meters away to a common pool for many houses, so and so. He was amazed of this. Why is that? They eat out home, outdoors, and the toilets
Inside.
is inside homes. He was also amazed because of the cleanliness of the ancient Egyptians. He said that every woman has a bath every day, and we have on the paints a lady at the bathroom, naked and sitting on a chair. One of the girls pouring water over her head, and the other one offering her a flower. Very strange. Anyway, he was amazed of this, and he said, even the clergy, even the priests, he had to have a shower before every prayer. 3 prayers every day. He has to have 3 showers. But Herodotus commences saying that because of the rewards they have, the money they have, the fruits they have, this is what made them can, so to speak, sustain sufferings. And they are, so they were very concerned with the hygienic measures and even to obesity as well. And they considered obesity, if it is prevailing in a country, this means that it is a lazy country and no work or no production in this country as well. And that's why one of our big authors, Abbas Mahmoud al-Attad, he says, look at Nefertari and the Nefertiti. Everyone, nearly she is going to fly in the air because it is how it is slim, not obese or fatty. And they usually were discarding any fatty girl or fatty woman, at least.
Yeah.
So this is amazes me. Preventive medicine, even preventive medicine before curative medicine.
Yeah, that's and the advanced knowledge in pharmacology, understanding also like the plant medicine. What you mentioned for me, like what amazed me now, and or even when I was reading about the linen stitch, why they chose linen? Despite of other materials, but because linen is vibrating on 5,000 hertz, and that accelerate the healing itself, because then the wounds, when you are bringing that 5,000 hertz to the wound, and then this accelerating the regeneration and healing. So even they were wearing the linen as a garment. So and we don't now understand that we are wearing synthetic material that is blocking our bioenergetic field, the flow of energy in the body, and that flow is blocking all this circulation and all of that. So they were as you said, each part of that knowledge is amazing.
Yes, yes. Not only that, but you may be amazed more when you know that they did the tooth or teeth transplantation. And
Wow.
they mentioned in one of the papyri that if the transplantations come from a dead twin to his twin, which is still alive, it takes and it's going to be good. But if the tooth transplantation comes from a stranger or a relative, it doesn't take. Of course, he didn't mention post graft rejection or tissue typing or things like that, but he observed it. He observed that if it comes from a twin, okay. If it comes from a stranger or a relative, no, it fails.
Yeah,
So really, that's why, probably I may surprise you by Jamison Harry. He is a British doctor, and he claims that our symbol in medicine should be Imhotep and not Abukrat. And he said even Abukrat didn't describe the pulse, whereas before Abukrat by 4,000 years, who is Imhotep, and Imhotep means that one who is coming in peace, described the pulse in a poetical, scientific description, saying pulse is speech of the heart in peripheral vessels.
Wow. Yes.
Pulse is speech of the heart in peripheral vessels. When I put my fingers on the radial artery, for example, here, why? It doesn't mean anything to me, anything in the radial artery, but I'm putting my fingers here to know how is the heart is doing. Tachycardia, bradycardia, stopped, doesn't work, or anything like that. So it's speech of the heart. This is what Imhotep said.
Wow.
And that's why one of the commentators in England, he said, ancient Egyptians were doing brain surgery before Hippocrates by 4,000 years. And strangely enough, we call Hippocrates the father of medicine.
Exactly.
Nowadays, father of medicine is Imhotep. Yes, that's right. Anyone hearing me now, he can on the net at the 24th of July, 2022, the Daily Mail offering thanks to ancient Egypt and the ancient Egyptian doctors. Why? Because a comparative study for head injury in England by Peter Hutchinson in Cambridge. I worked in Cambridge Hospital for 3 years, by the way, in England. It was one of, the most happy days in my life. Anyway, Peter Hutchinson, 300 patients and 300 patients. The first group, he did with them the protocol of England in 2022. And he did with the other 300 patients, head injuries, what was Egypt was doing 4,000 years back. Trifine operation and let the blood, instead of pressing on the brain, comes out. Peter Hutchinson could save 20% more than the British conventional protocol of managing of head injuries. It is written, anyone can see it. Just try it. Daily Mail, Peter Hutchinson, 24th of July 2022. You will find that. Till now, the ancient Egyptian procedures and treatment, look at that.
Mhm.
And the shock which the British Museum had 7 years ago when they were
Mhm.
screening a mummy. This mummy was 100 years in the museum, and it was a scientific shock when they discovered intramedullary nailing.
Mm.
This is the knee joint. And Adam Crawford, he is an orthopedic surgeon. He said, if we did this X-ray 550 years back, and we found this intramedullary nailing, which ancient Egypt did 3 or 4 thousand years ago, we this would have spurred us the trials and sufferings to do the nail, which is the same as ancient Egypt was doing it thousands of years back. Very strange and very amazing, really.
Exactly.
Country.
And can you just tell us briefly about the mummification and why they just kept the heart organs and removed the other organs in the mummification?
The law was in ancient Egypt curse upon anyone who can injure or wound any human being, whether he is alive or dead. So, strangely enough, they have to do this incision so as they can take the viscera out. So, a sort of play. Somebody comes and just make a wound, and then he fly, and some people follow him, cursing him, and so on. This was the law, not allowed to anyone to injure a human being, whether alive or dead, except doctors.
Mm.
Okay. Anyway, after cutting this, the embalmist comes and take the viscera out, and then because the kidneys are behind the peritoneum, they leave the two kidneys,
Mhm.
and that's why, and they leave the heart because this will defend his honor in the trial,
Mhm.
and they cut in the diaphragm, and they take the two lungs out
Mm.
and leave the heart. And then there is a small bone, which is a very weak bone, separating the nose from the skull. After 3 days, the brain becomes liquefied.
Mm.
So he breaks the small bone, and then the brain comes from
Mhm.
the nose. And this idea, the Europeans, nowadays they treat the pituitary tumors
Mhm.
by radioactive substances, pellets put in the nose, because they know that just the small bone, which is a very fragile bone, full of pores for the olfactory nerves, comes from it, and the radiation comes to the pituitary and they treat the tumor.
Mm.
So they evacuate the brain, evacuate the abdomen, except the kidneys.
Mhm.
They evacuate the chest, except the heart, and then they cover it inside and outside by natron salt and leave it for 40 days to extract or absorb the fluids of the body.
Mhm.
And then after 40 days, they buy linen in every organ of the body, even the fingers, by a sort of, they call it crisscross, yeah, like that,
Mm.
and then comes back like that. So it comes like that, crisscross, and they cover every part of the body by crisscross linen, and they then after that ceremony for the deceased, and they know for sure that in resurrection the soul or the ba, as they called it, come back, and the that person will come back again. And strangely enough, when that person, if he was by one eye, they add to him one eye, so as in resurrection becomes complete. If he is amputated limb, for example, they put to him another limb, artificial limb prosthesis, so as he becomes complete in resurrection. You know, but I would like to tell you that we did know everything concerning embalming. Other chemical substances, we don't know. To preserve the body for thousands of years. And by the way, probably not much people knows that chemistry is coming from the word chemet. And chemet means the black land.
Yes.
And chemistry means black science. And this was the nomination of the Greek about chemistry. They called it chemistry because Egypt was so clever in chemistry.
Thank you very much for this great. The great depth of knowledge that you shared today. And we're just starting now, just to explore the surface, just to scratch the surface of that great civilization. At the end, I just want to ask you what you can give us as a last, advice for humanity today. How we can restore that knowledge, how we can build great civilization, or preserve what we have, and work in continuation to bring this civilization alive again now. How we can able to do that? Professor.
Yeah. Yes, well, I believe this is one of the most fascinating questions we can ask. When we study the ancient civilization, we often focus on what they did not know. But compared to the modern science, of course, because these are the modern patterns applied in approaching the study of ancient civilizations. But it is equally important to ask what the ancient civilization understood exceptionally well through the observation, the experience, and the close relationship with the natural world, for example.
Yeah.
What strikes me the most when working in Egypt is how careful ancient builders considered the orientation of the buildings towards the celestial vaults, or the geographical alignment, the topography, because they approach the position of the study in connection with the environment, the materials they used. So the connection with the natural context is very clear when you study the pyramids, for example, or the archaeological site in general when you are on the field. It means that they were not designing in isolation from nature. They were designing within it, adapting their structures to the landscape and the condition around them. And so, in some ways, it seems that the ancient civilization may have recognized patterns and relationship that modern science is now investigating. No? We are now approaching to the possible connection with nature.
Yes.
Before Professor Waseem refers to the name Kemet, the Black Land alchemy. It was the real science of nature.
Yes.
This is very important. Thank you, Professor Waseem, for underlining that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the most important lesson from ancient civilization is that humans are part of nature, not separate from it.
Exactly.
And today, this idea may be more important than ever. And I believe that our future will depend not only on new technologies, but also on our ability to understand the nature, to respect it, and to live in balance with it. This is, in my opinion,
Yes.
what I expect from the future.
Inshallah, we'll be able together, with this amazing expertise and scientists and philosophers that are coming into the Majlis platform will be able, to bring that interconnected system, understanding the depth of nature intelligence, and co-create with that, not working against it. Because what is happening today in the global climate change and environmental crisis, it's a wake-up call for all of us to rethink our innovation model, the way we create. So and we're gonna finalize it with you, Professor Elseesy. So what at the end, that the message that you want to deliver for our audience today?
I would like to just, I remember now one of my colleagues, he is a professor of pharmacy. And by the way, the pharmacy comes from the word pharmaka. And pharmaka is an ancient Egyptian word that means the house of remedy and peace.
Mm-hmm.
And the source of this, Professor Paul Galyongi, Medicine Ancient Egypt, page 100. For anyone wants the reference.
Yes.
So as you know. Anyway, pharmaka is an ancient Egyptian word. I would like to end this happy sharing with you and Professor Armando by quoting the words of Jean-Francois Champollion when he said, "Imagination fails and falls lifeless at the feet of ancient Egyptian civilization." Imagination fails and falls lifeless at the feet of ancient Egyptian civilization. And this is true. And one of the great supporters of this is Professor Armando and his colleague, Professor Filippo Biondi, and his colleague as well, Christopher Dunn, and his colleague are whom probably he knows, the third one with
Malanga, Professor Malanga.
Malga, yes, he knows that. So this group is great, and all of them are going to be a turning point in the life history of ancient Egypt and of the whole world. And thank you so much, Dr. Alia. You are really great. And I enjoyed very much this episode.
Our first two conversations have taken us through the archaeological and medical dimensions of ancient Egypt, revealing how different forms of knowledge can come together to help us understand a civilization. But there is another dimension of ancient Egyptian legacy. The Egyptians understand their relationship with nature, creation, sound, space, and the human experience. To explore this perspective, we now move into the Arabic segment with Dr. Nashwa Sharkawi, archaeologist, restoration specialist, and diploma of ancient Egyptian music. Her perspective invites us to look beyond the monument itself and ask what knowledge, meaning, and cultural memory may be preserved within it. دعونا الآن ننتقل إلى هذه الزاوية من الإرث المصري القديم. في هذه الفقرة سنغوص في رحلة متعددة الأبعاد. سنكتشف كيف فهم المصريون القدماء عناصر الطبيعة وعلاقتها التناغمية بجسم الإنسان، وكيف صمموا بيوتهم وبيئتهم ومعابدهم كأجهزة حيوية تتنفس مع الكون. والأهم، كيف أدركوا أن الكون في أصله اهتزاز، وأن الصوت والموسيقى ليسا مجرد ترفيه، بل هما أداة علمية وطبية لإعادة التوازن والشفاء للإنسان. رحبوا معي بالدكتورة نشوى الشرقاوي الأثرية وخبيرة الترميم ودبلوم في الموسيقى المصرية القديمة. دكتورة نشوى، أهلا بك في مجلس الحكمة، وأترك لك المجال لتقرب المشاهدين أكثر من عالمك الفريد، وكيف تتقاطع مسيرتك بين علم الترميم وإعادة إحياء شفرات الحكمة الإنسانية.
أهلا بحضرتك، أنا سعيدة جدا بهذا اللقاء، وأتمنى أن احنا ننقل حالة الشغف والعلم والإنسانية والحكمة لكل المستمعين، ونقرب الآثار والحضارات لينا، لأن دي حضارات بلادنا بغض النظر عن اسم الحضارة، وإحنا عايشين جواها والصلة ما اتقطعتش. يمكن كان في فترات وتغيرنا شوية، لكن الدي ان ايه بتاعنا والذاكرة الجماعية لكل شعب جواها الحضارة والثقافة اللي هو اتولد فيها بناء على الجغرافيا اللي هو موجود فيها.
كلام جميل. طبعا أنا تجمعني بدكتورة نشوى علاقة وثيقة. هي من الأشخاص اللي لهم الفضل أن أتعرف على الحضارة المصرية بأبعاد جميلة. عشت معها رحلة علمية ورحلة بين يعني بين جدران المعابد، أخذتنا إلى مكان خلف الزمان والمكان بسبب عشقها والحب الذي تبثه في كلماتها، وفي في قراءة الماضي بصورة حية. عشنا معها تجارب رائعة في الأقصر وأسوان، وأتمنى إني أزور معها بقية الأماكن يعني. وهي بالنسبة لي كمثابة أم روحية، مرشدة، كانت ساهمت جدا في مجلس الحكمة في جمعي وتعريفي بعلماء آخرين في مجالات مختلفة. فأنا يعني أتقدم لك بجزيل الشكر والامتنان لك يا دكتورة نشوى.
أنا سعيد جدا طبعا باللقاء، وأنا مؤمنة بالمثل اللي بيقول موت فارغا، وإن دور كل واحد موجود عندنا، وكل واحد عنده علم إن هو ينقله للآخرين، وينقله بطريقة جميلة وسهلة وبسيطة لكل إنسان. مش لازم المستمع ده يكون واحد متخصص، وهو ده الدور، إنك تقربي الإنسان من حضارته وثقافته ومن الفن والجمال، لأننا عن طريق الفن بنشرح الحضارة.
يا سلام يا سلام. أكيد أنا متأكدة أن كل المشاهدين حيستمتعوا معنا بمحاور النقاش اليوم، وحنبدأ بأول محور. دكتورة نشوى، من خلال تخصصك الدقيق في الآثار والترميم، نحن نعلم أن العمارة المصرية القديمة بنيت بنسب هندسية ومواد معينة. كيف كان هذا التصميم المعماري يجسد قانون الخلق والعلاقة التناغمية بين الإنسان والكون؟
ده حضرتك ده سؤال ذكي جدا وجميل، وأنا بحب دايما أبتدي بالإجابة عليه من غير ما حد يسألني، لأن أهم حاجة في دراسة الآثار والحضارة هي فلسفة الدين، لأن كل الأماكن المعمارية والهندسة المعمارية معمولة لممارسة طقوس دينية أو جنائزية.
صح.
فإزاي المبنى ده نفهمه وإحنا مش فاهمين الفلسفة ولا الدين؟ حتى الإنسان لما اتكلم على نظريات الخلق، إيه هي النظريات بالنسبة له ونشأة الكون، كان بيفسر العناصر اللي موجودة في الكون دي عشان يتخيل إزاي الكون اتخلق، وبيسميها عناصر. يعني حتى كلمة عنصر في الكيمياء أو في الفيزياء ليها معنى تاني. وبرضو عايزة أقول حتة تانية، إن نشأة الكون ويعني علاقة الإنسان بالكون هي دي الأساس اللي على أساسها بقى فيه فلسفة وفيه دين وفيه أماكن معمارية وعمارة خاصة بكل حضارة وكل بلد. كلامي معاكي ده بيمشي على كل الحضارات وكل العمارة، مش بس على الحضارة المصرية. أكيد لو الحضارة دي في العراق ليها فلسفة، ولو موجودة في المايا ليها فلسفة. فعشان نفهم أي مكان، أي معبد، أي مقبرة، أي هرم، هو بني لسبب ديني أو سبب جنائزي، وبناء عليه ليه علاقة بالكون، ليه علاقة بحركة النجوم، ليه علاقة بالزوايا، ليه علاقة بالفلك. فعشان كل ده مرتبط كله بالإنسان، والحقيقة في الأمر هي علاقة الإنسان بالكون، أو مواضيع اللي هي نشأة الديانة. الإنسان الأول كان إنسان صياد فبيغير مكانه، لكن بعد كده بقى في حاجة اسمها حضارة أو حضارات الأنهار. إن الحضارات نشأت في البلاد اللي فيها أنهار، لأن النهر هو المعلم الأول.
صح.
النهر هو اللي بيقدر الإنسان يعمل زراعة، ولما يعمل زراعة لازم يقعد جنب الأرض، ولازم يبص في الطبيعة ويشوف إمتى المطر وإمتى الشمس وإمتى النجوم، ويعمل كالندر أو يعمل يعني يعمل كالندر، يعني يعمل تقويم زراعي، يعرف إمتى هيزرع، إمتى هيحصد، إمتى الفيضان هتيجي. فكل ده قايم على علاقة الإنسان بالمية وارتباطه بالزراعة. فالزراعة هي اللي بتهدي الإنسان إن هو يدور على الخالق ويدور على الدين بيدور عليه عشان خايف من مظاهر الطبيعة، خايف من البرد والمطر والفيضان، وبيحب برضه الدين عشان عايزه يديله حاجات جميلة، يديله الحيوانات والأكل، عايز يحمي نفسه من الطبيعة. وهي دي العلاقة اللي كانت وما زالت هي علاقة الإنسان بالكون، حتى لو احنا استخبينا في الحداثة، لكن هي دي الحقيقة. إن الواحد عايز يكون آمن على الأرض، علاقته إيه بالكون؟ بيحمي نفسه من الزلازل والمخاطر وكذا، وبياكل ويشرب ويعيش ويستمتع ويفكر وكل الحاجات دي. فالعلاقة دي هي علاقة الإنسان بالكون. أي حاجة ترجمتها دي بغض النظر عن إن هي 10,000 قبل الميلاد أو 2026. فالمصري القديم فسر ظواهر الطبيعة اللي هو عايشها، وبناء عليها اتفلسف وعمل نظريات دينية عشان يشوف هو بيفكر إن الكون ده اتنشأ إزاي.
اوكي.
بعد ما فكر واهتدى ولقى الإله اللي هو في مصر لازم يكون الشمس، لأن عندك شمس 365 يوم، فكل ما كان الإله بتاعه من الطبيعة. يعني لو الناس في أوروبا بيشوفوا إن العذراء شعرها أصفر وعينيها زرقاء عشان هم كده، وفي أفريقيا بيشوفوا إن العذراء سمراء لأن هم سمر. فكل واحد بيتخيل الإله على شكلته، وبعد ما يتخيل الإله عايز يحط قانون، عايز يحط مبادئ، فيعمل إيه؟ يعمل قانون إلهي. اللي بيكذب، اللي بيسرق، اللي بيعمل كذا عقابه كذا. فجت فكرة الجنة والنار، والمصري كان أحسن واحد عبر عن فكرة الجنة والنار والحساب والعقاب. لكن الفرق الوحيد إن المصري تخيل إن الجنة على شاكلة الحياة التي يحياها، ولهذا السبب جوه المعابد والمقابر وكل حاجة صور الحياة اليومية بالتفصيل، الزراعة والصناعة والأكل والشرب والموسيقى. في كل حضارة وفي كل دراسة بنبص على الإنسان، لأن الإنسان هو العامل الأول اللي فسر مظاهر الكون وعمل الديانة وعمل الفلسفة اللي مناسبة للبيئة والجغرافيا بتاعته. يعني هيجل بيقول إن مصر فلتة جغرافية. فلتة جغرافية فين؟ بلد فيها البحر المتوسط في الشمال والبحر الأحمر في الشرق والصحراء في الغرب، وبلاد النوبة والسودان في الجنوب والنيل. يعني حتى بيقولوا هيرودوت بيقول مصر هبة النيل. لا، مصر هبة المصريين، لأن النيل بيعدي في بلاد كتير ما فيهاش حضارة زي الحضارة المصرية.
أكيد.
فالدي ان ايه بتاع الإنسان المصري هو مصري، تواجد في هذا المكان من وادي النيل، وهو أول توحيد على وجه الأرض. فهو التوحيد بتاعه هو اللي هداه إن هو يتخيل النظام بتاع الكون، وعمل نظام وعمل فلسفة وعمل دين وعمل مباني واشتغل وحب، وكان في قصة حب وقصة زواج وفي مزيكا، كل حاجة متصورة بالتفصيل على المعابد، كل حاجة مكتوبة بالتفصيل في أوراق البردي اللي موجودة في برديات في أماكن في متاحف عالمية زي بردية إبرس.
صح.
ولو مسكنا حاجة واحدة نقدر نشوف كل العلوم. يعني لو مسكتي موميا هتشوفي الكيمياء والفيزياء والعقيدة الدينية وتركيب الألوان، وكل أثر في كل العلوم.
سبحانك. إيه.
يعني أنا لما درست، يعني أنا خريجة كلية آثار قسم ترميم، فأنا كنت بستغرب إحنا في قسم ترميم كنا بندرس علوم كلها مختلفة، تاريخ وآثار وفيزياء وكيمياء ونحت. هو فعلا كده، لأنك لما تمسكي أثر أنت بتشوفي كل حاجة فيه. يعني حضرتك لما تمسكي عملة، أقدر أقول لك العملة دي من الفضة، من الذهب، وزنها كذا، يبقى الميزان الاقتصادي كذا، عليها علامة دينية كذا، يبقى الدين كذا، عليها كتابة كذا، يبقى الكتابة هي كذا، الاقتصاد كذا. فكل حاجة هي ترمومتر الوقت ده للناس دي.
يعني كلام جميل جدا. يعني أنا مرة سمعت لك في حلقة كيف بتفسري وبتشرحي العناصر اللي في الطبيعة. ممكن بس المشاهدين تديهم نبذة عن العناصر وكيف فسروها المصري القديم، ربطوها يعني عنصر الهواء والماء
يعني احنا كنا يعني اتكلمت ساعتها، يمكن كنت بتكلم على أسطورة إيزيس وأوزوريس، وبرضه عايزة أفسر كلمة أسطورة. يعني الحضارات القديمة كان طبعا عندها عالم بتحاول تفسر، فعندها عالم من الآلهة وعندها الخير والشر. فتقريبا كنت بشرح أسطورة إيزيس وأوزوريس. طبعا المكان صغير فمش هعرف أشرح لك قوي يعني، لكن أنا كنت بقول إن تخيلوا إن الإله خلق الأرض والسماء، الاتنين ملزوقين في بعض، وبعدين خلق الهواء، ارتفع الأرض عن السماء، بعدوا عن بعض، وبعدين خلق الرطوبة.
أوكي.
يعني حتى كلمة الجب اللي هي الأرض،
أوكي.
والسماء نوت،
نود.
والهواء شو، والرطوبة اسمها تفنوت. وتفنوت جاية من كلمة موجودة في مصر لغاية دلوقتي، سوري، هي كلمة تف،
صح.
جاية من تفنوت اللي هو بصق. 4 عناصر سموهم عناصر. شوف الكلمة الدقيقة، عنصر. اتجوزوا، خلفوا 4 أولاد. طبعا في الخير والشر، إيزيس وأوزوريس
صح.
دول الخير، وست ونفتيس اللي هم آلهة الشر. وهي مش آلهة الشر، هي آلهة الفوضى، لكن الشر هو الفوضى والخير هو النظام. بعد كده يعني ست حاسد وحاقد على أخوه، فعمل تابوت، ودخلوا الناس عشان يقيسوا التابوت، وعمل التابوت على قد أخوه بالظبط. لما دخل أخوه يعني قفل عليه التابوت وقتله، وقطعوا 42 قطعة ورماه في كل جزء في مصر، لأن مصر كان فيها 42 إقليم يعني.
أوكي.
إيزيس قعدت تدور على الأشلاء بتاعت جسمه، ولما لقيته يعني كلمت أختها بقوة السحر إن هي تساعدها، إن هي تجمع جوزها وإن هو يعيش لمدة يوم، وإن هي تتجوزه ويخلفوا مين؟ يخلفوا ابنها حورس اللي هو الخير، اللي هو هينتقم من عمه ست اللي هو إله الشر. عشان كده كل التماثيل اللي بنشوفها بتاعت أي ملك بنلاقي ورا ظهره هنا في تمثال حورس ورا، زي المكان اللي رحته معاكي وكان في إدفو وفي تمثال حورس.
صح. صح.
فاكرة؟
فاكرة. أكيد أكيد.
اه
آه.
دي يعني نظرية الخلق دي زي اسمها يعني نظرية الأشمونين أو نظرية الثمانية اللي هم بيعتقدوا فيها.
أوكي.
وكمان في حاجة مهمة، إن هو المصري القديم بيعتقد إن الكون اتخلق من المحيط الأزلي أو الماء الأزلي اللي هو اسمه نون، اللي هو في شكل هرم،
سبحان الله.
وطلع منه زهرة اللوتس الحياة.
أيوة.
عشان كده يمكن بيعمل المبنى الهرم. ودلوقتي احنا درسنا في كلية آثار الأهرامات والمقابر وكذا. دلوقتي طبعا مع العلوم الحديثة مع التفسيرات الجديدة بيبقى ليهم تفسيرات أخرى.
صح. لأنه أنا لو أربط بالعلوم الحديثة يعني في علوم الفيزياء، في علوم القوانين الكونية، بيتكلموا دايما عن قانون التضاد، إنه لازم تكون في قوتين متضادتين عشان تعمل التوازن الكوني، زي ما في خير في شر، في هاي اند لو، بلس اند ماينس، يعني السلب والموجب، يعني لازم تكون في تضاد عشان يكون في حياة. في الأخير الكون دايما بيميل إلى التوازن.
صحيح.
والمياه الأزلية دي ممكن نربطها بالشيء اللي بيوصفوه في الفيزياء الكمية، اللي هو اللي بيسموه كوانتم فيلد. فيعني في حاجات كتيرة مترابطة جدا ما بين
الجغرافيا، يعني لما درسنا جغرافيا بيقول لك ان العالم كان كله ميه وبعدين ظهرت اليابسه. هو قالها، هو المصري القديم قال كل حاجه، قالها بالرسم.
صح.
يعني هو كان فاضل بس النطق، ان احنا نسمع الصوت. كل حاجه مرسومه، وكل نظريات الفلسفيه والدينيه اللي يصعب فهمها بالكلمات هي مرسومه. فبرضه انا اتعلمت في قسم الترميم ان انا بفسر الرسم. هو من خلال الرسم انت بتعرفي هو عايز يقول ايه، من خلال اللغه اللي هو بيتكلمها بيكتب. هو ما سابش منظر الا لما كتب جنبه، ما سابش ملك الا لما حط اسمه جنبه. يعني الحضاره المصريه مش ممكن تغلطي فيها. اللي غلط فيها هم الاوائل اللي كتبوها. ما كانش عندهم وسائل زي اللي عندنا دلوقتي.
صح.
لكن دلوقتي انت عندك نت وعندك صور وتقدري تقارني وتقدري تشوفي، وعندك 3 دايمنشن وتقدري تعملي اسمها ايه، لافيتا فيرتوال، اللي هي تخش مكان وتحس انك فيه. وكل واحد ممكن يقرا في بيته، ممكن يعرف. لكن اللي كتبوا في الاوائل وكان معظمهم اجانب ما كانوش يعرفوا كلمات، وما كانش عندهم العمق الديني. انت بقى جوه المقبره دي بتدرسي كيمياء وفيزياء وهندسة وفلك ودين وضوء وطاقة ونفسية وحب وكل حاجة. انت بتدرسي كل حاجة. يعني أثر واحد يديكي كل الأبعاد. أول حاجة سألتيني على المباني المعمارية، قلت لك أي مبنى معماري أو أي يعني تصميم معماري في مصر القديمة هو معمول لممارسة طقوس.
صح.
وكل الآثار اللي احنا لقيناها هي مش آثار حياتية، هي آثار دينية أو جنائزية. لأن الحاجات بتاعت الحياة بتاعتهم هم عايشين في بيئة حر. ناس بتلبس كتان، بتلبس لبس خفيف، مش محتاجة إنها تبني البيت بتاعها بالحجر الكبير. بيبنوه بالبردي وبيبنوه بالطين اللبن. لكن لما بيجي يعمل أثر، والأثر ده عايزه يعيش دايما وعايز يرجع لنفس المكان ويعيش نفس الحياة، فلازم يستخدم مواد صلدة. لإلا ما راحش جاب الجرانيت من أسوان ونقله خلال النيل وعمل كل التعب ده.
صح.
هو بيعمل ده ليه؟ بيختار مادة الحجر، المادة الصلدة، المادة اللي فيها طاقة، المادة اللي تناسب المكان، تناسب الفلسفة الدينية. فده كيمياء، ده فيزياء، ده دين، ده فلك، ده كل العلوم.
صح.
يعني زي ما قلت حضرتك، وانا بدرس ترميم درسنا مواد كتيرة. انا بقول يعني ده لا
فهمت يعني ليه. وانتي
طبعا طبعا. لان انت لما بتيجي تكتشفي اثر او تفتحي مقبرة، انت يعني بتنتهكي حرمة انسان اراد ان هو يعيش في المكان ده لغاية ما يبعث مرة اخرى. الحضارة المصرية مبنية على فكرة واحدة، البعث. البعث. فهو عايز يرجع، بس هو مش عايز يرجع في جنة بقى واو وهو ما شافهاش. لا، هو الجنة بالنسبة له ايه؟ النيل، الهرم، النخلة، الحاجات اللي هي الجغرافيا بتاعته اللي هي مش موجودة في أي بلد تانية. يعني لو في نفس الوقت كان في حضارة أخرى مثلا في العراق، الآلهة اللي عندها والفلسفة والأساطير وكل حاجة هي مناسبة للمكان بتاعها.
صح أكيد.
احنا حضارتنا المصرية حضارة جامعة شاملة، ذاكرة جماعية، كل حاجة فيها. يعني كل حاجة موجودة في ما تركه السابقون.
أكيد.
هي كلمة آثار وتراث اللي هو ما تركه السابقون.
طيب، وعايزة معاكي نمشي في رحلة جميلة نفهم فيها دور الموسيقى في حياة المصري القديم. كيف كانت الموسيقى؟
الموسيقى هي الحياة، يعني هي النغم. وبيقول لك إن الأشرار لا يغنون، اللي بيغنوا هم الطيبين. فأنت متخيلة مثلا المصري القديم وهو قاعد على النيل يسمع خرير الماء، يسمع التمساح، هيعمل إيه؟ هيروح جايب بوصة مخرومة اوريدي، يعمل فيها شوية خروم زيادة ويسد واحد ويفتح واحد ويعمل أصوات.
مم.
لكن أول آلة موسيقية على الإطلاق هي الحنجرة، الصوت.
مم.
وإيه الفرق بين الحيوان والإنسان؟ أو لا، ده الإنسان اتعلم من الحيوان الأصوات.
صح.
يعني أول ما جه الإنسان عمل إيه؟ يعني هو إنسان صياد، فهيعمل إيه؟ عايز يحمي نفسه مثلا من أي حيوان مفترس، يقعد جلسة في هدوء في صمت. عايز يحمي نفسه من حيوان تاني، يقلد صوت تاني. فابتدى بتقليد الأصوات وتقليد حاجات الطبيعة، ويمسك البوق عشان يعمل إشارات لإنسان تاني موجود في مكان تاني. فالموسيقى هي الصوت، هي الحياة. فابتدى المصري القديم ياخد الحاجات اللي موجودة عنده في الطبيعة، ياخد حاجة كده زي القرع مثلا ويجوفها ويعملها، يعمل بيها حاجة عاملة زي المندولين، زي العود. ياخد جلد الحيوان ويعمل زي الرق،
مم.
ويقسم بقى. ابتدى الأول موسيقى بسيطة، وبعد كده بقى في فرق موسيقية. والموسيقى المصرية هي الموسيقى المقدسة، لأن الموسيقى دي نشأت جوه المعبد، فهي موسيقى دينية. وموسيقى دينية لأن هي بتبعث على القدسية والاحترام، زي ما بيعملوا مثلا تراتيل عند المسيحيين، بيعملوا عند المسلمين تواشيح.
مم.
فكانت الموسيقى هي موسيقى المعبد، هي الموسيقى المقدسة، هي موسيقى ملتزمة لا تسمح بالابتذال. وما فيش موسيقى خارج المعبد، لأن الكهنة هم اللي كانوا يعني قايمين بدور المحافظة على الريتم. كل يوم في شمس، النهر بيجي في وقته، أنا بزرع، أنا بحصد، أنا بشتغل.
مم.
بعد ما بخلص شغلي بروح البيت، باكل بشرب بعد مع أولادي. جايب لك إن حتى الست في البيت هي بتقعد تعزف على الهارب وجوزها بيعزف على الناي، وولادهم قاعدين يستمعوا. ودي حاجات موجودة في كل المتاحف.
مم. صح،
أجمل
بس
حاجة في الموسيقى إن إحنا عندنا آثار موسيقية. يعني في المتحف المصري اللي هو في التحرير في قسم الآلات الموسيقية، وفيها آلة جميلة اسمها آلة السيستروم. وآلة السيستروم دي أنا عملت عليها دبلوم في يعني كلية تربية موسيقية. هي آلة عاملة زي الشكشك،
مم.
بس دي ما تعزفهاش غير الملوك والملكات، يعني مش أي حد يعزف. ليه بقى؟ لإذهاب الأرواح الشريرة من المكان.
شوفي كيف كانوا بيهتموا.
طبعا لأن الترددات والصوت
مم.
والنحاس ليها تأثير على الإنسان. ما نقدرش ننكر إن ده دلوقتي نفس الحكاية، بيعملوا الشوك الرنانة، بيعملوا العلاج بالأصوات، العلاج بالفن. فدي حاجة مش جديدة. ليه؟ لأن داخل المعبد كان في المدرسة، في الموسيقى. بيعلموا الموسيقى ويعلموا الكتابة ويعلموا الفلك والهندسة، لأن المعبد كان هو الجامعة،
مم.
هو المكان اللي الكاهن
مم.
دارس فيه كل العلوم. يعني لما نيجي نتكلم مثلا إمحوتب اللي بنى الهرم،
مم.
مهندس معماري وكاهن وطبيب وعالم في الفلك، لأنه كانوا متعددين العلوم. زي ما قلت لحضرتك دلوقتي، زي ما أنا برمم آثار وعلوم الآخرين لازم أدرس كل الحاجات دي. هو عشان ينشئ الحاجات دي أصلا ويبنيها
مم.
عنده دين وفلك وفيزياء وكيمياء واستخدام الخامات اللي موجودة. يعني في مصر كان بيستخدم الذهب على نطاق كبير لأن عندنا ذهب.
مم.
يستخدم الفضة على نطاق أقل لأن كان الفضة أقل. يستخدم الأخشاب الرائعة، يجيبها مثلا من بلاد الشام لأن احنا عندنا الخشب بتاعنا فقير. يستخدم الأخشاب المحلية في حاجات تانية.
إيه.
لكن الإبانوس والعاج وهيجيبوا من بلاد. حتى لما بتشوفي مثلا كرسي العرش بتاع توت عنخ آمون وكرسي تاني فيه عاج، تقولي انت الأثر الواحد تقدري تعرفي منه التجارة والصناعة والرحلات اللي عملها المصري، ولف كل أفريقيا وراح بلاد بونت وجاب حاجات من هناك، وجاب راقصات وجاب آلات موسيقية. فانت عندك حضارة شاملة، حياة، هي حياة احنا بنسميها حضارة، بس هي كانت هي دي حياتهم اللي ماشيين. فكان على المقابر موجود عندنا رسومات بتمثل الآلات الموسيقية اللي هو كان بيستخدمها، وبيقسمها لثلاث أقسام: آلات إيقاعية زي الطبلة والصلاصل ومنها السيستروم والشخاليل، وآلات نفخ زي الناي والبوق، ومثلا آلات وترية زي الهارب. الهارب ده حكايته جميلة، عايزة أحكيها لك. يعني مثلا الهارب ده كان يعني في البداية هو شاف القوس اللي بيستخدموه في الحرب ويشدوا كده، كان فيه وتر، ها؟ فهو فكر إنه يحول آلة الحرب لآلة سلام.
يا الله.
حول القوس هو لا بقى في وتر بيعمل صوت جميل اللي هو بيتعمل من أمعاء الحيوانات. فابتدى يعمل الهارب، يعمل وترين 3 لغاية ما وصل ل 13 وتر، ويعمل الهارب ده بأشكال مختلفة: هارب كبير لراجل واقف، هارب لراجل قاعد، هارب لسيدة بشكلها زي جسم الست بالظبط، ومثلا هارب الست تشيله على رقبتها وتعزف عشان إمكانيات جسمها إنها أقل يعني في الحجم. فالهارب يعني آلة حرب تحولت إلى آلة سلام، واخدة شكل الست. وعايزة أقول لك كمان إن في حاجة في مصر كان اسمها السيدات العازفات، يعني الستات هي اللي بتعزف، وكانت الستات في بيوتها عندها هارب زي ما زمان كانوا كل الستات عندهم بيانو في البيت بيعزفوا عليه. والهارب لغاية دلوقتي موجود في كل الموسيقى العالمية.
حتى في موكب المومياوات اللي حصل من كم سنة، كان في يعني معزوفات موسيقية ماخدينها من ترانيم، اللي في الترانيات اللي في المقابر الجنائزية دي.
أيوة.
فأنا سمعت المغنية بتغني باللغة الهيروغليفية وشفت مختلف الآلات، فعلا يعني شيء جميل. يعني ممكن تدينا شوية عن
ده لما جم عملوا موكب المومياوات عشان ينقلوا المومياوات من المتحف المصري القديم إلى متحف الحضارة، نقوا يعني بعض الأغاني. كانت في الأغنية اللي اتغنت دي كانت موجودة في المقصورة الحمراء في معبد حتشبسوت بالدير البحري، وغنوها ككلمات واستخدموا الموسيقى الفرعونية.
أكيد.
فطلعت بشكل جميل وعملت روح من القومية. وطبعا أنا بحب جدا إن هم يعملوا مواكب كتير ومهرجانات خاصة بالموسيقى وإحياء كل الحاجات اللي هي موجودة عند المصري القديم. الموسيقى أنت عايزة أقول لك حاجة مهم، الموسيقى دي بقى تطورت يعني من موسيقى المعبد، وفي موسيقى في الولائم للنبلاء والناس الأغنياء بيعملوا حفلات، بيعملوا سهرات زي ما بيحصل دلوقتي.
أكيد.
وفي الخدم يلبسوا الواحد الورد أول ما يدخل ويدهنوا له الزيوت والعطور، والرجالة اللي مش متجوزة تقعد في ناحية، والراجل اللي متجوز يقعد ومراته تقعد على الشمال. ما في طقوس بقى. وبعدين في الرقص. أنا بقول بعد دراستي بقول إن الرقص هو حركة الروح، لأن حتى الصلاة رقص، وكل طقس وكل رقص هو طقس. يعني أصول الرقص كانت إيه؟ كان الإنسان قدام عدوه لازم يعمل رقص أو حركة معينة عشان يشتت انتباهه، عشان يخوفه. قدام الفريسة كان لازم يعمل حركات معينة، لأن بدايات الموسيقى والرقص وكل الحاجات دي ابتدت مع السحر. السحر في الإنسان القديم إن هو كان بيعمل سحر وبيعمل حركات وبيعمل صلوات عشان المية تنزل وعشان المطر وعشان النيل يجي في مستوى كويس وما يجيش عالي. فكل الإبداعات دي كان الإنسان بيعملها عشان يحمي نفسه من ظواهر الطبيعة، وعشان يزود الخير اللي جاي من الطبيعة. فكله متصل ببعض، الموسيقى متصلة بالفلك، بالفيزياء، الدنيا كلها متصلة ببعض، الصوت، الغناء. يعني حضرتك لو تاخدي بالك أي واحد بيغني ديني،
يعني كل اللي سردتيه من بداية الحلقة واللي تعلمته معك في خلال رحلتي معك بيأكد حقيقة يعني كامنة إنهم كانوا في توحد مع الكون، في تناغم مع الطبيعة، كانوا متأملين لكل حركات الطبيعة، لكل اللي موجود ما بين الحيوانات، ما بين النباتات، ما بين العناصر، وجسدوا كل حاجة في مختلف المجالات باعتبار إنه ممارساتهم اليومية تكون امتداد للطبيعة. فيعني فعلا نغمة واحدة هارموني مع الكون ومع القوانين الكونية. أنا يعني في انبهار دائما وأبدا من عمق العلوم والفلسفة، وعمق الفهم للكون. ونحن يداب يعني بنحاول إنه نحن نفهم 1% من الفهم الكبير ده.
يعني إحنا الإنسان بعد بكل وسائل التكنولوجيا والكوميونيكيشن الحديثة، بعد عن علاقته بالكون. يعني مين النهارده بيقف عشان يشوف القمر؟ كنا زمان واحنا صغيرين بابانا كان يقول لنا بصوا للقمر، بصوا للضوء. مين دلوقتي عنده وقت؟ لكن هي الأساس في الحكاية هي علاقة الإنسان بالكون. وزي ما بتقول كل العلوم الحديثة إن إحنا ما بنستخدمش إلا 10% من إمكانياتنا، من قدراتنا. يعني الأول الإنسان كان بيسمع أي حاجة، بيسمع الحيوان، بيسمع حاجة بتأذيه، بيسمع حاجة بيحبها، فكان عنده حاسة السمع عالية، حاسة النظر عالية، لأنه عايز يصطاد. اللي ما كانش لسه كتب، فما كناش نعرف اللغة اللي بيتكلمها، كان بيتصل ازاي؟ بيتصل بالبوق، بيتصل بيعمل أصوات عشان ينادي الناس التانية، ابتدى يعمل مجتمع. فكل الحاجات دي كلها هي علاقة الإنسان بالطبيعة، فكله ماشي مع بعضه. بس احنا دلوقتي ما بنعملش كده، بنقضي وقت اكتر في الكمبيوتر طبعا. يعني احنا بنشكر برضو الانترنت اللي بتخلي فيه تواصل ما بين القارات يعني. لكن في نفس الوقت احنا الانسان ما بنديش فرصة لعلاقتنا بالكون وعلاقتنا بالانسان الاخر. فابتدينا نفقد القدرات بتاعتنا، قدراتنا على ان احنا النظر اكتر، السمع اكتر، الروحانيات، الديانات، بغض النظر المبادئ، يعني الفلسفة. ما دلوقتي لما واحد بيعيا بيعالجوه بقى بالموسيقى، بيعالجوه دينيا، وبيعالجوه بكل الحاجات. ليه؟ هو احنا بعدنا، واي مرض جسماني سببه نفسي، وسببه بناكل غلط. يعني المصري القديم كان عنده حاجة اسمها الطعام غذاء ودواء. كل الحاجات دي متسجلة، هو بياكل اللي موجود حواليه، بياكل اللي في الطبيعة، وبيسمع اللي في الطبيعة، وبيعمل كل حاجة اللي هي مناسبة للبيئة. حضرتك لما بتيجي تزرعي زرعة في بلد تانية جايباها من حتة تانية مش هتطلع زي الأصل اللي هي فيه.
لأنه صح.
والإنسان عبارة عن نبتة زرعة بتمثل الأثر. ويمكن يعني إن شاء الله في مرة تانية في مقابلتنا يعني هنتكلم إزاي بتعرفي عمر الأثر. فيعني مثلا احنا بناكل نبات معين، وبعد كده النبات ده جوانا، وبعد كده بنموت، وبعد كده بياخدوا حاجة يحللوها، بنشوف كمية الوميض اللي موجود في الكون. يعني افرضي مثلا الإنسان ده طلع عنده 100 مثلا من الوميض، واحنا عارفين ان في الكون بيبقى فيه مثلا 10 في السنة، بنقسمهم ونقدر نعرف عمره. بنعمل الكربون 14 على المواد العضوية. فكل الحاجات دي ليه احنا بنستخدم مقياس الطبيعة في ان احنا نقيس الانسان؟ ما هو الانسان بيعمل ايه؟ بياكل النبات وبياكل الحيوان وبيتنفس الهواء والكربون وكل الحاجات دي عشان تقدري تعرفي كل حاجة.
صح. وكان في نقاش سابق لنا أنت ذكرتي شيء مهم جدا، إنه الإنسان وعلاقته مع الطبيعة هي سبب قيام الحضارات، وانفصاله وبعده عنا هو سبب اندثار الحضارات. ده كان بالنسبة لي يعني يعني شيء جميل خلاني أفكر كتير في جميع الأبعاد اللي ناقشناها، وفعلا من خلال السرد اللي سردتيه اليوم يعني إحنا ما سردنا علمي واحد، إحنا تبحرنا في العلوم، تبحرنا في جوانب الحياة، تبحرنا ما بين الفلسفة، ما بين الموسيقى، ما بين العلوم، ما بين قوانين الخلق. فيعني هو فهم كامل للحياة، وفعليا كل ما بعدنا.
الحضارة هي حضارة ناس كانوا عايشين،
صح.
وهم سجلوا اللي هم عايشينه. فاحنا بنتكلم عن حياة الإنسان بغض النظر عن إن هو مولود على أرض مصر ولا موجود على أي أرض. احنا بنتكلم على علاقة الإنسان بظواهر الكون وتفسيره الديني وبناء الأماكن المعمارية عشان يعمل فيها إيه. يعني ده في كل حضارة وفي كل أرض. لو اتكلمت على حضارة المايا هنتكلم بنفس الطريقة. يعني الترميم والدراساتي، أنا يهمني الإنسان بغض النظر بقى الإنسان ده هنا عنده نيل، لا والتاني عنده مطر، وده ما عندوش، وده الإله بتاعه اسمه فلان، وده الإله بتاعه اسمه كذا. ما هو هيجيب آلهة منين؟ ما هو لازم يتخيل الطبيعة بتاعته دي اتنشأت ازاي والآلهة مين، فلازم يختار من الحاجات اللي موجودة حواليه.
Thank you, Dr. Nashwa, and thank you to Professor Armando and Professor Waseem for taking us through these different dimensions of ancient Egypt. Perhaps the most powerful lesson from this journey is not simply what the Egyptian built, but how they connected knowledge. And this is leave us with a question for our own time. What have we gained through specialization, and what might we have lost through fragmentation? The legacy of ancient Egypt is therefore not only something to preserve, it is something to question, investigate, and learn from. At Majlis of Wisdom, this is where our journey begins, looking into the past to ask better questions about the future. This was the legacy, ancient Egypt, the architect of civilization, and the journey continues.